From calling Jones a cheating steroid rat to dismissing his title fight that put him on the map, former UFC contender Mark Hunt has knocked out the heavyweight champ's reputation, along with that of the UFC, which continues to promote him. Bones' career history doesn't do him any favors either. The heavyweight champ took over from Cyril Gane to become a UFC double champion in a quick second. The match was over in the first round, but it was Jones' ability to come back straight for Bonga Man and take over the top spot that is still making noise to this day. While one big chunk of MMA fans is now rooting for Bones to be finally declared the GOAT, another legendary part of the population is opposed to the very idea of Jones in competition. Of course, Mark Hunt is in the second camp. The former UFC veteran has been vocal in his opposition to Jones, especially after his numerous charges of illegal behavior inside and outside the cage. USADA charges, driving under the influence, in short, zero social responsibility. The Super Samoan didn't pull his punches as he went on to criticize Jones's enduring career with the promotion. It's a statement that bears drastic consequences for the UFC as well. After all, it's the promotion that's been so generous to him. Or as Mark would say, too generous, as Bones and his paycheck both bear witness. The UFC's revised billing to the new heavyweight champ makes him the second highest paid UFC fighter at the moment.
And still the undisputed UFC.
It's a dramatic rise in fortunes for a fighter who hadn't seen the inside of the UFC cage in 3 years. On the outside of the UFC, he was evading jail cells for charges throughout his career. Still, Dana White's vote of confidence in the former light heavyweight champ was unshakable. But according to Mark Hunt, it was downright shady and borderline criminal of the agency that proclaims to obey the rules and arrange ethical competitions. On the other hand, it does explain one thing for Mark. In the kickboxer's own words, that's why UFC have no credibility, because they promote this garbage. The company continues to promote the fighter facing felony charges, rash behavior, and countless other charges. It's one thing to give him so many chances, Hunt says, but it's even worse to have him fight for the championship. As Mike went on the hunt, he also mentioned the illegal in-fight behavior of the latest heavyweight champ. Jones's overly enthusiastic strikes are legendary by now. You may have seen the eye pokes in memes. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, it's as painful as watching it live. Not only did those eye jabs by Jones almost maul Daniel Cormier's sight, they also damaged his reputation, perhaps forever. Still, the 35-year-old got back into action with his next fight and has been the king of the hill at UFC since then. Despite a 3-year layover in his competitive career, the American was called back into action at the top level. Hunt thinks it was totally reckless and unfair. Going one step further to prove his point, he dismissed the UFC and its title fight, at least until it decided to do something about the cheating steroid rat. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Mark's concerns about the UFC. Rather than holding a fighter accountable for his or her actions, it seems to reward them. This is behavior that Mark experienced firsthand, and you can bet he took action. It's all detailed in the court filings, but the Super Samoan had filed a case against the UFC after UFC 200. The 48-year-old claimed that both Lesnar and the promotion were covering for each other on Brock's drug use. If proven true, it would really cast the promotion in a dark light. Brock, who retired after his short but intense stint with the UFC, would be much less affected. Still, Mark thought it worth it to put the promotion on the stand for their misconduct, but these efforts resulted in a disappointing outcome for the veteran martial artist from Sydney. In January of last year, the U.S. District Court judged the case for the UFC and also slapped a $690,000 fine on Hunt. That was the penalty issued to him for UFC's legal cases. It was insult on top of injury. Much more importantly, a precedent that may have caused them to lean towards Jones's coronation. As for Mark, he may not have had his day in court, but he sure is having a field day with social media. Dragging both the UFC and its championship belt, he's shown his determination to holding the promotion accountable. It's an uphill battle, especially given the popularity Jones is enjoying and through him, the UFC. It's no surprise then that the heavyweight champ has successfully negotiated a pretty lucrative 8-fight deal. Now, compare that to what Mark got out of his time with the UFC, and you can guess what's at stake. I guess his lawsuits won't make him forget it anytime soon either, because the Super Samoan is still paying for it. Hunt may have officially retired from MMA, but I still believe he was just done with it for one reason or another, and it's also why he's still putting himself in harm's way inside the ring these days, fighting Sonny Bill Williams and the like. His legal fees are monumental, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars he legally owes to the UFC have to be paid somehow. The legal damages were the biggest reason for his 2022 contract to fight All Black Bill Williams. It seems to have taken over his whole career trajectory, as the 48-year-old himself admitted when he said he's not aiming for the world title at the moment, it's just these lawsuits pushing him onwards. Perhaps that wasn't such a bad move either, since his upset victory last November raised his profile massively. Now nearing 50, he added the rugby legend to his list of famous wins. It's one that already includes Frank Mir and Antonio Silva. Not only did his latest win prove he was here to stand up and fight till the last moment, but it also tells you a lot about his dedication to holding the UFC and Jones accountable. Cheating and using banned substances is equal to premeditated murder, according to the 2001 K1 World Grand Prix champ. That's not something to be taken lightly, much less celebrated or rewarded with a shot at the championship title. That's exactly what's happening to Jones as he comes back stronger than ever. The public's craze for the two-division champ and 13-time title defender is huge right now. He's in the news, headlines, and of course, the press conferences. The promotion seems to be pulling no stops in order to change his image to a hero and a champion of the people. Unfortunately for them, Mark Hunt is here to shine a spotlight on John's past. Not that this is stopping the 35-year-old from believing himself to be cleared. It's a blanket statement that glosses over a whole list of drug abuse all through his career. From testing positive for estrogen blockers and cocaine to the steroid Turinabol, the UFC champ has dodged the axe several times. To Mark, it's a matter of repeat offenses, and the promotion is the enabler behind it. The no decision after what was originally a win over Daniel Cormier seems to agree with his statement. That decision seemed to be a step towards punitive action. Instead, it turned into a redemption arc that the UFC continues to play a major role in. The 48-year-old boxer believes it's a lasting legacy that will stain the promotion, especially after his claims that the UFC did the same thing for Vitor Belfort, covering up his drug test results. So regardless of the fact that Bones himself has declared himself totally innocent in front of the press, going as far as to say that he feels officially cleared, fighters like Champ DC, top contender Chael Sonnen, and now the Super Samoan are loud and clear. All have either proven or accused the current UFC champion of enhancing his performance with drugs. And that's all for why and how Mark Hunt lashed out on Jones after his UFC 285 victory.